Welcome friends, tonight we have a very exciting feature. We'll be delving into the depths of the Islamic religion. So don't go anywhere, we will be keeping you on the edge of your seats with this one.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Abdul Rahman, and tonight we have a special interview with Muhammad Ali, but that is until later in the feature. But first, we're going to check out the weather. Sali, how's it looking, Sali?
Well, for the next hour and a half, the weather's looking pretty dry and bland, if you know what I mean.
Breaking news that Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, has died. We now move to Bukhara with the story of Muhammad and the history of Islam.
Muhammad, who was born in Mecca in 570 AD, wrote the Quran. He was an orphan when he was 6 years old, but accompanies his uncle on trading routes to Syria. On his expeditions, he met a widow named Khadijah, and he married her. Around the age of 40, a vision occurred to him and told him he was to be a prophet of Allah. This is also known as the Night of Power. He started preaching to the people in 613 AD. He focused on oneness, or the only God is Allah. Due to facing possibility of murder and social isolation from those who once praised him, he migrated to Medina. This movement was known as the Hijra and marks the beginning of the Muslim calendar. Muhammad's message spread rapidly and his numbers of followers grew in Medina. A series of battles was then fought between various tribes of Mecca and the Muslims of Medina. The Muslims were eventually victorious, however. Muhammad died at the age of 63 in 632 AD in the city of Medina. His death brought chaos to the people. Over the years, the teachings of Islam started to spread through love. By the 10th century, over half the world's population was of the Islamic religion.
This section is about the Quran. The Quran is the word of Allah revealed by the Prophet Muhammad. Because such perfect guidance is written, it is said it can only be the words of the Almighty Allah. The Quran is very pure, and its writings have remained unaltered for 1400 years. The book is divided into 30 equal parts and 114 chapters. This sacred book serves as guidance for Muslims until the day of Allah's resurrection. Islam is practiced all over the world. However, it is most predominantly found throughout the Middle East, Northern Africa, Central Asia, Western Africa, Indian subcontinent, Malay archipelago with large population centers in Eastern Africa, Balkan Peninsula, Russia, and China. 1 in 4 people practice Islam in the world today, with the largest population located in Indonesia. This religion is split into 2 different sects, the Sunnis and the Shiites. Sunnis believed the only mediator between Allah and the believers was the Quran, and the Shiites believed the person was a mediator between believers and Allah, not the Quran.
Tonight's feature will be spent discussing the Islamic practice. The bare minimum that a Muslim must do in order to believe that they are assured their salvation is quite simple. Islam is based upon the following of 5 practices known as the 5 pillars. The first of these is known as the Shahada. This consists of bearing witness that there's nothing worthy of worship but God, and that Muhammad is God's messenger. Now, this also consists of a sincere recitation of this confession of faith before 2 Muslims is the sole requirement for those who wish to join the Muslim community. It must be recited correctly aloud with full understanding and integral assent, at least once in every Muslim's lifetime. The next pillar we have is called the Salah, which is also known as ritual prayer and is performed 5 times each day, at dawn, afternoon, sunset, and evening. Prayer is always directed in the direction of the Kaaba shrine in Mecca. A prayer mat, also known as a sahada, is commonly used during Salah. Salah may be performed individually, but it carries special merit when done with other Muslims. The focal prayer of the week is the midday prayer at the mosque on Fridays. Salah must be preceded by ablutions, which is the ritual washing of the face, hands, and feet. If there is no water present, this can also be done with sand.
The third of the 5 pillars of Islam religion is the Zakat. The Zakat is an alms tax required of every adult Muslim with sufficient means. In many ways, it resembles the modern welfare state, in which the haves give goods and money to the have-nots. The rate of the Zakat is 2.5%, not in one's income, but of one's possessions. 5 categories of goods are grains, fruit, camel, cattle, gold and silver, and all movable goods. The recipients of the tax are the poor, debaters, and slaves.
And now we move to my good Sir Brett with the fourth pillar.
Sawn, or fasting, commemorates the revelation of the Quran to humanity during Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic year. During Ramadan, all adult Muslims are required to abstain from food, drink, and sexual intercourse during daylight hours. Exceptions are made for travelers, soldiers, menstruating women, and the ill. Although such persons are expected to fast later when they become healthy again. Ramadan is an opportunity for increased prayer and devotion. During the last 10 nights of Ramadan, some Muslims some Muslims retreat to the mosque for even more intense study and contemplation. One of the Tuesdays, usually the 27th of Ramadan, is a night of power, the holiest day of the year in the Muslim religion.
And finally, we are now moving to Ali, who will be covering the fifth pillar of the 5 pillars of Islam.
The fifth pillar consists of the Hajj, or the pilgrimage to Mecca in the Islamic religion. It takes place during the Dhu al-Hijjah and is commanded in the Quran. It commemorates the stories of Abraham and Hagar, and during the Hajj you must enter a state of purity, otherwise known as the Ihram. You may not cut your hair, your nails, you may not participate in sexual intercourse, you may not argue, fight, or hunt. 2 million Muslims complete the Hajj each year. After completion, you may add Hajj or Haji to your last name.
The next topic addressed tonight is how the Muslim people worship. In modern times, the muezzin, who calls people to prayer in the mosque, is usually heard on the radio. One can also utilize a service such as the Salat pager, which sends a reminder to the believer's pager as prayer times approach. When performing Salat at the mosque, worshippings are aligned in parallel rows behind the prayer leader, who directs them through the rakas, which are the prescribed postures and recitations. Islamic prayer begins in a standing position and moves through several simple postures until the supplicant is kneeling. The content of prayer is glorification of God, recitations of the Quran, and blessings on the Prophet. Salat concludes with the Talasama, which is a greeting that means peace be upon you, even when praying alone.
Oh, dude, it's a quarter after 12. My high score. No.
This could be the best recipe I've ever made. Just look at this. It's so...
Hey man, it's burning.
Oh look, 12:14. Time to pray.
Islam means a submission to Allah. Tonight we'll be moving it. Islam means a submission to Allah. Now we will be moving to the Muhammad Ali section of tonight's newscast.
Our tale of the take, coming at you from Brett Albinson's basement. Over here in this corner we got Muhammad Ali, weighing somewhere in 1 in 300 pounds. And over in the other corner we have Allah, weighing at, you know what, I don't really know, he's kind of floating right now. Ready? Round 1.
Tap gloves, fellas.
Even Muhammad Ali submits to Allah.
I will be covering the Prophet section of the newscast. We have a long list of prophets. Those include Adam, Idris, Nuh, Hud, Salih, Ibrahim, Ismail, Ishaq, Lut, Yaqub, Yusuf, Shuaib, Ya'ub, Musa, Harun, Dhul-Kifl, Dawood, Sulaiman, Iyas, Ayasa, Yunus, Zechariah, Yahya, Isa, and Muhammad. The 6 important ones would be Nuh, or Noah in Christianity, Hud, Salih, Lut, or in the English language, Lot, Shuaib, and Musa, or often referred to in Christianity as Moses. We also have an entire segment on Muhammad. Noah was exhorted his people is Noah. Noah begged and pleaded his people to stop worshiping false idols and to believe in Allah as true monotheism. He called his people for 950 years. In that time, only 80 people showed up to his call. Even his own son rejected him. As a result, Allah punished the town with a great flood that is still spoken to of this day. Second is Hud. Hud was sent to the people of Ad in what is now called Yemen. He also tried to guide his people into believing in the Islamic religion. The Ad mostly rejected him and laughed at him and continued to worship their idols. Allah punished them with a great drought, followed by an immense rain cloud. But rain did not come, and instead a great wind destroyed their entire city. Next comes Salih. Salih was sent to the people of Thamud, who lived in great buildings carved into the sides of mountains and hills. They refused to worship Allah until Salih brought them a miracle. So Allah caused a huge rock to split in half and a she-camel to come out. Still not believing in Allah, they continued to worship their idols. And so Allah punished them by causing earthquakes and rocks to shatter their cities and towns. Fourth is Lut. Lut was sent to the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, who practiced homosexuality openly and secretly. Lut was sent to them to warn them of the punishment of Allah. Lut encouraged them to repent for their sins and worship Allah alone, but they refused. So Allah sent 2 angels to Lut to warn him of the pending destruction. Lot and his family, except for his wife who did not believe, fled. Allah sent a storm of stones and earthquakes. The entire city was destroyed. Today the town is beneath the Dead Sea in Palestine, and nothing can live or grow there. Second to last is Shuaib. Shuaib was sent to the people of Midian. The Midianites were excellent tradesmen, but resorted to cheating and lying to get their wealth. They were also bandits who would rob travelers on the roads. Shuaib tried to guide them towards the Islamic monotheism, but they refused. When Allah declared their punishment, Shuaib and his followers fled the city. Allah sent a mighty blast that flattened all of Midian, killing everyone in sight. Lastly is Musa, or commonly referred to in the English language as Moses. Moses was sent to his people, the Israelites, who were enslaved by the Egyptians at the time. Musa and his brother Aaron had a mission to guide the Pharaoh of Egypt towards Islam and encourage him to free the Israelites. Believing that he himself was a god, the Pharaoh neglected. Allah sent several punishments to the Egyptians, including drought, flooding, locusts, frogs, and lice. When it became apparent that the Pharaoh would not relent, Musa and the Israelites fled Egypt in the middle of the night. When the Pharaoh found out that his slaves were running, he decided to send an army after them. The Israelites stopped in front of the Red Sea and could not cross it. Allah, seeing this, opened up the Red Sea and allowed his people to go through. The Pharaoh, seeing this, tried to follow, and instead, when he got halfway, Allah closed the sea on him, and he drowned all of the people there.
Oh!
I would like to thank our viewers for tuning in to our Islamic special. And contrary to popular belief,
Thin mints do not actually make you thin.